Hi everybody. Before I give you a recap of the past 3 chapters of Living Nightmare and read chapter 4, I just wanted to take a second to wish all the moms out there a very happy Mother's Day. As we now know, Tobin is at the Mental Institute because of very violent nightmares. Nightmares where people get hurt and she feels it like it's happening to herself. Because of these, she has a hard time connecting with other patients in the ward who fear her. Chapter 4. In my world, Santa Claus was an employed fat man in a red suit. Christmas was invented by greedy businessmen and used by parents to manipulate children into obeying. Listen, or else go on the naughty list. Scare children with songs about a large man with a white beard who watched you while you slept. Idiotic traditions teaching children that lying is how the world works. As adults, we lie to ourselves. Everything will get better. It won't. Tobin. Tobin examined her reflection as it stared at her from the bedroom window. She wasn't vain. Looks were a matter of genetics and meant nothing. Anyone could be pretty. People could buy attractive features nowadays. She was bored, and there were 2 hours to waste before supper. Was she pretty? She scanned her reflection. Narrow face, pale skin, and a mane of black hair with hints of red when the sun touched it. Her hair was a mess, and a chore to brush because of its thickness. She had no one to impress, so she usually left it to do what it wanted. Tobin pulled her hair away from her face and neck, holding it high on her head before letting it tumble back down. She wasn't ugly. Her eyes made her frown, though. The sea storm eyes held many others inside. Countless eyes. Small, big, wide and almond-shaped. Light lashes, dark and thick lashes. 2 nearly invisible ones. The colors and shapes varied, but the fear in them never changed. The eyes belonged to the fallen. Eyes she would never be free of. Her arm fell back to her side. "Hey now, sad face, what you doing?" Boisterous laughter made Tobin's heart jump. She was about to tell the patient off when she saw who it was. Ange, a fellow patient, hovered in the doorway, swinging her arms. Ange was a 22-year-old with the mentality of a 5-year-old. The bubbly redhead had declared them best friends the day they met, 4 years ago, and Tobin hadn't been able to shake her loose since. But she shouldn't complain, she knew. Ange treated her better than anyone else in the ward did. It was exhausting sometimes, trying to explain to Ange what was real and what lived inside her mind, but Tobin didn't want to be the one to destroy the girl's happy nature. Reality was gloomy. Ange should be allowed to keep her shiny optimism, naive as it was. Tobin sighed in resignation as Ange skipped into the bedroom, the flames of her hair flying in all directions. Ange had a baby face, from her soft, rounded cheeks and wide blue eyes to her naturally rouged lips. She was also a bundle of restlessness. Tobin tracked her as she danced around the room, taking in her modified outfit. Ange's clothes, though the same as Tobin's, changed daily. She claimed her clothes were an outlet for her feelings when finger paints weren't working. Today, she had converted her bottoms to high-waisted pants by yanking them up over her hips to her belly button. She had the shirt tucked in and a pair of socks pulled up to their max, stretching up over the pants until they reached her knees. Tobin didn't have the heart to tell her she looked ridiculous. "So, why the unsmile?" Ange came to a stop in front of Tobin. "It's called a frown, and I wasn't frowning." "Oh, my mistake." Ange grabbed Tobin's arm. "Come, we've got stuff to do." Ange rolled her eyes as Tobin rolled her eyes as Ange dragged her down the hallway, past the nurse's station, and into the common room. Where were we? Here she goes again. Tobin slipped her hand free when Ange's focus went to the patients in the room. She took a second to glance at the door. Could she make it out without Ange stopping her? Unlikely. This was Ange's favorite pastime. She'd get 10 minutes before Tobin could escape. Yes, yes, I remember. Ange let out a giggle. With a clap of her hands and a wiggle of her butt, she scanned the room. Ange was her most solemn as she studied each patient closely. Tobin checked to see which nurse was on room duty and was pleased to see it was Nurse Helga, who didn't bug her. Nurse Joe was there too, standing by the sofa, though she doubted he was interested in the episode of the Mindy Project that was playing on the TV. Her. Ange was staring at the black glove seat. 2 females were sharing it, an older patient with brown hair and another around their age with a bob of plum-colored hair. The plum-haired girl looked over her shoulder at them as if aware of Ange's fascination. A silver ring looped through a blonde eyebrow. Her pale eyes glared at them before she gave them her back. Friendly. Ange poked Tobin in the arm. Purple girl. Pretty hair. Super cool power. Mm-hmm. Tobin held back an eye roll. Ange's world must be nice to live in, she thought. The insane had powers and everyone was honest. Want to know what she can do? Ange, on a superhero high, poked Tobin again. Sure. What else was there to do? She controls wind. Ange did another little wiggle of excitement. Not a lot. She's untrained. Still nifty. If she gets mad, then... Ange did a spin, arms out. Swoosh! When she stopped, she grinned at Tobin. Wish I could do that. Tobin glanced at the plum-haired patient. She didn't look any different than the others. Shouldn't she, if she was so special? Slouched in the armchair, the girl watched TV like the rest of the patients who hoped to get away from their realities. The brunette sharing the love seat shifted. Her elbow hit the plum-haired girl in the side. Plum girl shoved the woman. Idiot, she said, and got to her feet, throwing her arms up. Ange gasped. Oh, Tobin, did you see that? She tugged on Tobin's arm. Did you? See what? The girl hit someone who accidentally touched her? No, the magazine. The one Wally has on his lap. Look, look, see? She pointed toward the sofa. Wally, 50 years old, slightly overweight from short frame, and dealing with agoraphobia so extreme that he had to be sedated in order to come to Manuel, sat at one end of the sofa. He had a magazine open on his lap. Tobin arched a brow at Ange. Sure, so? She did that. Ange's eyes glittered in joy. Tobin glanced at the plum girl and back at Wally. I don't get it. She did what? Made it open with wind. Her power. Right. Ange sighed. A quick search of the room made her hesitate. She didn't want to hurt Ange's feelings. Still. It might have been wind, but not from a person. Tobin gestured across the room where the tables were. Behind the tables were the 4 windows. A nurse must have opened a window. It was wind from outside. Ange tilted her head. Window's too far. It was her. I know it. It was the opened window. Okay. But what about yours? Tobin's face darkened. Don't start. Oh, pooh. Ange waved the words away. A week later, Ange, not known for her stealth, snuck up on Tobin in the common room. Did you hear? Tobin was pretending to do a word search meant for a 6th grader, but she didn't mind the interruption. Anything was better than acting like she cared about word puzzles. She just wanted Nurse Tiffany to leave her alone. Tobin looked up. Good news, she decided, watching Ange do a jig. I have an uncle! This news bomb dropped. Ange skipped out of the common room. Tobin stared after her. An uncle? She hurried after her friend. Ange was almost to the cafeteria when Tobin caught up with her. Since when? Tobin asked. She was out of breath. Maybe it's time to think about daily exercise, she thought. Ange stopped in the middle of the hallway. 2 patients huffed. The girl's abrupt stop had caused them to walk into her. She paid no notice. Since 2 days ago, Dr. D got a call. A man heard his niece was here. Me! Cool beans, huh? Another dance. Tobin smiled as Ange grabbed her pants to keep from sliding off her hips. Today, Ange wore her clothes inside out. Tobin didn't bother to ask why. Let's go to your room, she said. Ange may not mind people eavesdropping, but Tobin did. Ange's room was across from Tobin's and 4 doors down. She shared it with a mocha-skinned woman named Daphne. Tobin didn't know what Daphne's diagnosis was, but she'd been at Mendel for about 5 years. The bedroom was empty. It looked like Tobin's, minus the handprints on the wall, right down to the curtains. They sat on Ange's bed, the flame-haired girl kicking her legs back and forth, unable to contain her elation. Tobin leaned against Ange's pillows. Let me get this straight. A stranger called, claiming he's a relative of yours. Yep. Really? Ange smiled, finding nothing wrong. Where's he been? Tobin asked. When your mom left you at a firehouse and Heinrich barely a year old, why didn't he come get you? All the years spent in and out of foster care and group homes, where was he? When you turned 18 and the last group home convinced you to admit yourself here, where was he? Her voice grew louder, but she didn't care. Oh, you and your bum humbug attitude, Ange patted Tobin on the knee. Dr. D says he's been looking for me since Mommy left. She was young. Taking care of me was too hard. Tobin shook her head. How could Ange be so calm about this? Her mother had abandoned her. Didn't she get that? Ange went on, tears shining in her blue eyes. His name's Travis Barton. Mommy's was Mary Ann. She got sick. Told him about me. Wanted him to find me and make sure I was happy. Isn't that so nice? She sniffed. She passed away a year ago. Nice wasn't the word Tobin would use. How could he have not known he had a niece? If Mary Ann had trouble raising Ange alone, why hadn't she asked her brother for help? Why wait until it was too late? And another thing. How did he find you? She asked. You were named by the fireman who found you. How does this Travis Barton even know you're his niece? Oh, shush, Toby. Ange kicked her legs out. Can you believe it? An uncle of my own. Tobin's stomach twisted. She wasn't trying to upset Ange, but something didn't feel right. What about your treatment? I'm not sick, silly. So Dr. Dawson's going to let you leave with a stranger, no questions asked. Ange flopped on her back, eyes to the ceiling. No, they want to watch our visits first. But Uncle said he hired somebody to help me at his house. I'm so excited. Ange jumped off the bed, pulling Tobin with her. She spun them around in a circle, laughing. Ange was getting a family. That was a good thing, right? So why did Tobin feel ill? That's the end of chapter 4. Next week will be chapter 5. And as always, I hope you've been enjoying the chapters and the stories so far. Take care, and I'll see you guys next week.